Hi guys, welcome back to The Roost. Today we are going to be talking about all the ways that you can make money from property. Investments, different strategies, all that good stuff is coming right up. Okay, so to kick off, the 10 ways that you can make money from property is one that I guess should be the most obvious, which is your own home, or capital appreciation is the technical term for it. So basically you buy a property, you live in it or you do whatever with it, and then over time it goes up. That's generally how it works, unless you're really unlucky. So the second way that you can make money from property is by flipping them. So basically this is your homes under the hammer scenario. You buy a property, you renovate it, you do it up, you add value to it, and then you sell it on for a profit. In some areas this is getting harder and harder to do as everyone sees these programs on TV and thinks that it's an easy way to make money. Not the case, but yeah, it very much depends on your area where the flips work and the market, obviously. The third way to make money from property is a strategy that I personally wouldn't use, but I know some people have been very successful with it, which is rent to rent. So you approach a landlord, you say, hey, I can take over your property, you need to get contracts done for this, for sure. You say, I'm going to take over your property and you don't have to worry about finding tenants anymore. I will do that for you. You take on that money, you give him £1,000 a month, whatever. You take on a family home that you can then rent out room by room at a profit. Or sometimes people that do the rent to rent strategy actually add value to the property in order to get the market value up. That is another way of doing it. It's not really one for me, but it can work out for some people. So the fourth strategy is the one that we currently use, which is probably my favourite at the moment, which is BRRR. Now, I'm going to try and remember this in the right order, which is buy, refurbish, refinance and rent. So you purchase a property, you add value by updating the kitchen, the bathroom, repainting, whatever it needs. You then go to the your broker, your mortgage lender, and say, hey, we bought this house for £100,000, and you say, hey, we bought this house for £100,000 because of all this work that we've done to it. We're now in the region of £150,000, say, and you remortgage that property and pull out the money that you've put in. So basically your mortgage gets covered, you pull out as much of the money that you spent on it as possible. 100% is not always possible, but then you get that stack of cash out in order to move on to the next property. So this is a good way of keeping properties in your portfolio, as well as being able to buy more at the same time, because you keep moving that cash essentially around. Okay, so the next way of making money from property is something that I would love to get into myself, which is serviced accommodation. Airbnb, essentially. Buying a flat or a house with the intention of using it as a holiday let. It's just a fancy word for it. More and more people are getting into this now. Obviously with the rise of Airbnb, it's been very successful and people are on the lookout for more boutique or unusual places to stay, and that's where I think you can have a lot of fun with property if this is your strategy. So there is a strategy that it seems to be gaining popularity like more and more these days. It's not necessarily for me, but it might be great in your area, and that is HMOs. So house of multiple occupants. Think like student housing, young professional housing. I mean, the standards of these are incredible. Some of them, they get a massive bad rep, but if you look at people like Jade from B Space or May Green on Instagram, they do these amazing shared houses with cinema rooms, amazing communal spaces, massive kitchens, and they're really good for young professionals. But if you don't want to be a landlord to multiple people, then this definitely is not the strategy for you. There's obviously more things to go wrong where you've got 6 occupants in a house instead of usual couple or family, whatever. So it's not without risk, but the cash flow that you can get from those sorts of properties is much higher. So risk is higher, reward is higher, pretty much the investment 101. So the next way to make money from property is to build it yourself. Personally, being in London, land is scarce, and if it ever comes up, then it is way out of my price range before you've even put a building on it. So it's kind of out of the question for me. But if you live in an area that has lots of land available, or you especially have the know-how to develop a property or a series of properties, then it can be a very lucrative way to invest. It's also a good way to invest money. If you don't want to be hands-on, then you put your money with a developer that will then go on to build that project for you. Obviously, massive caveat, do your research and do your due diligence on anyone that you plan on investing with, because there are a lot of sharks out there. Let's just throw that out there. Don't trust anybody. Do your own research. Okay, so moving on from the kind of residential ways of making money from property, you can also make money from commercial buildings. So this could be anything from a warehouse, an office block, a shop, anything that is used for a business purpose. The leases are often a lot longer in length, so you have really a less risky strategy with a commercial property, because once someone's in there, they're not going to want to move their business because it's often down to them to do the fit outs. So say for example a hairdresser's wants to move into your property, they would fit it out, put all the things that they need in there. You're not going to want to be doing that every year, so often these leases are 5 years, 10 years, maybe even longer, which means a really good, stable return for you as an investor. Also, commercial property is often a little bit cheaper than residential, so it's often a good way if you maybe don't have as much capital up front to get into it. Something that is also on the rise and coming a lot more kind of to the everyday person's mentality, i.e. me, is commercial to residential. So that means taking a commercial building and transforming it into a residential. Because commercial property is generally lower value, if you turn it into a residential, it means higher value. So there's quite a lot of money to be made in that jump. But you do need to put in planning to your local council to make sure that the commercial building isn't needed as a commercial premises. Councils are often on the side of businesses. They want businesses in the area because business means more people. So you need to basically prove that there is no need anymore for that shop or office space or workshop, whatever it is. But yeah, the results from that can be pretty good. So the last way that I'm going to tell you how to make money from property is lease options, which are a little bit more complicated. So lease options are basically if you approach a homeowner and say, okay, I will pay you market value for your house at the moment, but I will buy it off of you in 5 years' time. Benefit to you is that you might get capital appreciation, which is what we talked about earlier. So property might go up in value. If you've paid 100,000 for it, it is now worth 150. Then quids in, you've got yourself 50 grand. In the meantime, you will be paying them a kind of rental fee month by month in order to keep that option open for you. I think that these are a lot more complicated to get into. I've heard of a couple of people that have done reasonably well out of them, but you really need to know what you are doing in order to pull them off. And I will stress again the importance of contracts and legal standing across all of these options, because you want to make sure that you are doing the right thing for yourself and doing the right thing for the other party. We don't like fleecing people here. So property can be a really fun way of making money. I personally find it really creative and really fun, and it's so nice to be able to give people homes, which, when you think about it, is pretty cool. So yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to us, because there will be more property content coming your way very soon. And if you didn't like us, then we will see you around.